133 grand a year. Sounds pretty sweet, right? Like, I've made it sweet. Well, what if I told you that as a PA earning 133 grand a year, after the tax man takes his piece, insurance premiums nibble away, and the student loan gorilla eats its fill, your earnings actually might feel like those of a seasoned second grade teacher. I'm Kristen Burton. I'm a board-certified PA with almost a decade of experience in the trenches. I've done everything from inpatient hospital medicine to inpatient cardiology and critical care. I've sat in on interviews bringing new PAs onto the team. I've precepted dozens of students and guided them through their clinical years, and I've shed a tear or two looking at my own pay stubs. So I get it. In this video, we're not just looking at gross wages or that big salary number that you get at the top of your contract. We're actually going to dive into the nitty-gritty of the things that only a CPA sees, what it actually looks like in your pocket as a PA, especially as a new PA, when you get that six-figure income. Every year, I pour over data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the AAPA salary report, and lately, my favorite data source, Merit Health, to bring you guys the actual truth on what PA salaries look like. This is not theory, this is reality. Let's start with the big shiny number that everyone talks about, the median salary for a PA. For 2025, the BLS puts it at about $133,000 a year. Pretty respectable, right? But here's where the nuance comes in. As a new grad, can you actually expect to make $133,000 per year? If you look at data from Merit Health, it actually shows that PAs with 0 to 2 years of experience are only earning on average slightly under that at $131,500. Well, how does that make sense, right? We all intuitively know that PAs with 5, 10, 20 years of experience are earning more. So how is that number for PAs in the 0 to 2 year experience range landing so close to the median salary for PAs? Well, the explosive growth of our profession explains most of it. In fact, the BLS predicted 20% growth for the PA profession from 2024 to 2034, which way outpaces most other professions. What that means is that a lot of PAs are younger and have less years of experience, shifting those compensation numbers. If you look at data from the AAPA salary report in 2025 on the distribution of PAs by experience, you can see that over half have less than 10 years of experience. This is again driving those numbers. So when we're looking at new grad salaries and saying, what does it actually look like? What am I going to get paid? What's my take-home pay? We'll assume $131,500-ish to get us started. Before we start shrinking this number with taxes and benefits and student loans, let's first mention the location of the salary because it matters a lot. You've probably figured out by now that if you go to a place like California or Washington, you're going to see a bigger salary number, right? The question is, does that larger salary make up for the fact that everything is a heck of a lot more expensive? This data comes from the AAPA salary report, and it shows us each state ranked by salary once you factor in that cost of living adjustment. You can see that the best states to live in terms of salary that's cost of living adjusted are in the middle of that country or the southeast, where states like California and Washington are actually in the 30 to 40th range for state rankings because those higher salaries do not outpace their accelerated cost of living. Don't forget, your goal as a PA is not just the number, it's purchasing power, right? We'll mention that at the end too. That take-home number that you get that goes in your pocket, it only matters as far as it goes, right? If everything costs more, then having more money in your pocket doesn't actually give you the benefit that you might think. All right, buckle up. This is where that impressive gross salary of $131,500 for a new grad starts to take its rapid descent. Let's run it through a pretty common scenario. Single filer on taxes, no dependents, and living in a state with a 5% state tax bracket. Now, the numbers will shift depending on what state you live in and your tax filing status, but you'll find the ratios end up shockingly similar. First off, the federal government. This salary lands you in the 24% tax bracket as a single filer. So you can estimate about $31,000 gone from your income for federal taxes. Next up is the state tax bill, which we're pretending to be in a state with a 5% state income tax. That takes another 5% away, which ends up being about $6,500. Between federal and state, we're out about $37,500 so far. Next up is your Social Security taxes. That's your FICA taxes, Social Security and Medicare. That comes in at a cool 7.65%, which takes about another 10 grand out of that gross salary that we talked about. To date, we've lost $47,500 to taxes, and we are just at the beginning of stripping that income down to what you actually get as a PA. Now, let's talk about benefits. Some of this stuff is genuine protection for you as a medical professional, and you can't go without it. Things like medical insurance, dental insurance, even vision coverage, all of that comes out before you get paid, and it all adds up. Depending on the type of medical plan you choose, of course, your premiums will look different, but we can guesstimate. And we'll say for a single adult that we're looking at $140 a month. Add in vision and dental, and now you may be as high as $200 a month or $2,400 annually. Next up is your 401k. Now, we talk about investing all day, every day, and if you want more content on how to actually become a millionaire as a PA, you should watch this video instead. But I'm going to assume you're at least smart enough to get your employer match. We'll make something up. We'll say you get a 5% dollar for dollar match from your employer into your 401k, which means you're contributing 5%. By the time you add up what we've done so far, your taxes, your benefits, your contribution to your 401k, up to your employer match, we are now out a cool $56,500-ish. That's a lot, right? We started with $131,500. We're out $56,500. In rough numbers, we're left with about $75,000 take home. Now, that still doesn't sound too bad. Let's break it out per month and figure out what things look like when you factor in the big stuff, especially the student loan gorilla, as I said. Okay, on a monthly basis, with that take home, we have about $6,250 a month to work with. Now, the student loan gorilla, up next. This sounds like a cute metaphor. It's not, right? We all know that your student loans are actually an angry, angry beast who eats until they're full and seems to take a lot of your monthly cash flow. It's really hard to guesstimate across the board what a PA will be paying every month in student loans. This varies widely, right? We have people doing an accelerated payoff plan where they're paying it off more quickly than 10 years. We have people on a 10-year repayment plan. We have people on income-driven repayment plans, some of whom have ratcheted their payment all the way down to zero or close using strategic income recertification processes, and everything in between. So there's no way for me to say, yes, every PA is going to have a student loan payment of $500 a month or $1,500 a month. But here's what we do know. The average debt for a PA is sitting at around $115,000. If you assume an interest rate of 6% and you assume a 10-year repayment plan, you're looking at paying about $1,250 a month. Now, we already said we landed at $6,250 a month. Now we're down to $5,000 a month. Now, in high cost of living cities like San Francisco, New York, Boston, that's barely enough to cover rent in a one-bedroom apartment, let alone transportation, food, restaurants, and everything else. In lower cost of living areas of the country, like Indiana, that $5,000 a month might go a little bit farther, but it still stings, right? Somehow we went from this big $131,000 a year salary as a new grad, and we've shrunk it down after taxes, benefits, insurance, and your student loan payment to a measly $5,000. Now, you may be thinking, this is why I definitely need to be on an income-driven repayment plan for my student loan debt, but not so fast. Being on that type of plan without a qualifying employer for public service loan forgiveness may actually put you on a path of taxable loan forgiveness, which could be the most expensive path you could take for your student loan debt. If you're wondering if that's you, if you're making the right choices on student loan debt, click below and add yourself to the wait list for our student loan survival kit so that you can make sure you're making the right choices there. So now we're down to $5,000. Let's talk about the next big expense that you quite literally cannot live without, which is either rent or mortgage. After that, we're down to the obvious overhead, right? You quite literally cannot live without shelter. So you're paying either rent or a mortgage depending on the path you take. Now, it depends on the data source you use, but average rent in the US as of 2025 is somewhere around $1,700 a month. The average mortgage is actually a little bit higher, hanging out between $2,200 and $2,300 a month, depending on the data source you look at. Now, of course, this is going to vary wildly. Like in some places of the country, you cannot touch an apartment for $1,700 a month, and you cannot touch a house for $2,200 a month. And so if you're in a high cost of living area, you might be laughing out loud at me right now, and that's okay. These are national averages, but you can see how that $5,000 we're left with starts to dwindle when you take out overhead of housing and transportation. Let's not forget the things that are required for the cost of doing business as a PA. You need to maintain your license, your certification, your ACLS, your BLS, your CME, all of those things are required. Now, some employers pay for all this stuff, which helps relieve the pocketbook, right, of the $5,000 you're left with. Not all do. So this is the point. If you're negotiating compensation, don't forget to negotiate those extra things that will help relieve some of your budget as a PA. If this deep dive into the real numbers is hitting home and proving helpful, hit the subscribe button below. Every single week, we launch videos on career topics and personal finance for medical professionals. So if you're trying to build some wealth as a PA, NP, pharmacist, CRNA, hit the subscribe button below. We're here to help. Just remember, these are new grad numbers. It actually does get better. If you look at experienced PAs, particularly those with more than 5 years of experience, we see median national salaries up above $150,000 and even clearing $160,000. Now, if you want to know how to earn $200K as a PA, make sure you watch this video where I cover what subspecialties and locations are the best for getting you into the $200K club. Beyond your base salary though, there are plenty of ways for you to increase your income as a PA. Using high leverage side hustles like expert witness work, speaking for pharma, doing adjunct faculty contracts for your local PA program, etc. are all ways that you can actually boost your income while using your clinical skills in a non-clinical way. Plus, if you want to take it to the next level, you can start an LLC for your side hustle income. Make sure you maximize your tax deductions from that, and also open a solo 401k to accelerate your tax-advantaged investing. Look, navigating your career financially is a marathon, not a sprint. That is why every contract you negotiate, every new job you take, that is all an opportunity that will either make or break your future wealth. That's why you need to get inside the Millionaires in Medicine Club for free if you haven't already. Go below to get access and join almost 6,000 medical professionals all in conversation about how to earn more and maximize their money in medicine.